So you have a tender rate and you love overlanding. You have plans to do it big on the trace and some super glamping. One idea, tip, news and reviews, a podcast the first rate and here just for you. You don't have to think about it, join us and be about it. Something interesting we want to hear about it, come on let's talk about it. Welcome to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints podcast.
Sponsored by Midland, communication for every adventure. The industry leader in radio communication technology and innovation for over 50 years. Sponsored by MyMedic. Sponsored by Tembo Tusk. Sponsored by Shower Pouch. Sponsored by DeMoss Collective, mission built and made for mobility.
Sponsored by Brew Trek. Sponsored by Hard Impact Designs.
Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
Hi, I'm Phil from Waypoint Overland, and this is Michael Ladd from Drive the Globe. Welcome to Random Waypoints. All right, so here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Random Waypoints podcast. We took a little hiatus because of a trip I took to Alaska, but rest assured, we'll be having an episode every week from now on. What's up, Mike?
Good to be back, Phil.
Right.
That's what's up.
Yes. So I'm not going to ask you really how you're doing because I've been hanging out with you for the past 3 weeks, and that's pretty much what we're going to talk about.
That's right.
So, you know I like to go chronologically. I just got back from Alaska, and I met up with you in Massachusetts.
Yep, I was camped in Gloucester, Massachusetts for the last month and a half, July and August, and then got a message from Phil saying, I'm about 2.5 hours out, inbound. And that was like damn near a month ago now. But so we've been on the road together, making our way down the East Coast.
Yep, and it's actually, to me, been a fun trip. It's had its ups and downs, but if I come up with one word, I'd say fun.
I would agree. We've had a good time, seen some great events. We're actually at one now we're going to be talking about, and we just came from Overland Expo East.
So let's talk about Expo East. Just a very general question for you. What did you think about this year's Expo?
I think Expo East hit it out of the park. I would say that it was the best in all the years that I've experienced East. The attendance, I think, was up to record-breaking levels. And overall, the feel was great. The weather, not that we can control that, was fantastic. So other than being a little cold at nighttime, it was awesome.
So my thoughts pretty much parallel yours. I have to reveal, I had a little pessimism as to how good it was going to be. Not only was it good, it far exceeded my expectations. You know I do this little journalism thing. I go around, I talk to people on both sides of the fence. And everybody I spoke to, whether they worked for the actual company, whether I talked to vendors, instructors, people in the camping area, it seemed to be a resounding yes that this was a success. Everybody enjoyed themselves.
Let's talk about the pessimism for a second. And the reason that we had that was because Overland Expo Pacific Northwest up in Oregon was fantastic, right?
Off the chain.
The venue was great. The vibe was great up there, and such a diversity of people and vehicles. Coming across America and worrying that East was going to be a total letdown.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's where it drove from.
Yes. I knew that I was going to enjoy it on some level no matter what, because as I'm always speaking about, a big part of this overlanding to me is socializing. So I knew I would see some great people that I wanted to meet. But it was great to see so many new people. I think that stood out to me, this particular one, more than anyone I've gone to. The ratio of new people, and not just new people, but new people that seem very eager to jump in somewhere into this segment and do something, whether it's being a vendor, whether it's taking trips. So that's what excited me the most is the newness and the newbies.
Not only the attendance of the participants, but also the vendors. There were a lot of new vendors on the scene, some interesting new products that I saw, and just in general, it was almost sort of like a revival. I felt like last year's Expo East, mainly probably due to COVID and a couple other things, was sort of a, I don't want to say a downer, because I agree with you. 90% of it really is, I call it the family reunion, and you show up and you meet people that you haven't seen since, the year before or whatever, and meet some new people and get to hang around campfires together. So that's what it's about for me. But the event itself, I will tell you from being an instructor, the classrooms, and they were right in front of where my truck was located as well, were very well attended. So that was great to see, because my fear is that over the last couple of years that maybe the focus on education was diminishing, and I did not see that here at East.
Well, not only did I not see it, and this started at Pacific Northwest, I've noticed an uptick in how full these classes are. It seems like more people are actually, I remember in years past, I'd schedule for a class, and then I go to the class, and there's still a few seats. A lot of these classes were standing room only.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That was something that really stuck out to me also. And I'm glad about that.
Yep.
Because that's the second segment that I always speak about, education. I really focus on that because you should know as much as possible getting out there. So I was really excited to see that.
Right. Know about the sort of, I'll call it the rules of the wild. Know about the equipment that you've chosen to put onto your vehicle and how to use it before you go out. And learn about experiences that other people have had in other places. So Expo is a great place to go if you're looking to learn about, say, Baja or Canada or Alaska or traveling through Africa. So that's kind of, to me, what it's about. It's certainly the social element and the education. One note I would make about this Expo, if you are a vendor out there, or even a participant that kind of chose to stay away this year, I would say that you might want to reconsider going forward. And I know it's hard for some, particularly other West Coast vendors, to make their way east, but I do think I've got a renewed feeling that there is benefit and there is marketing opportunity here on the East Coast.
Well, I had two vendors who I were pretty regular that didn't go, and they specifically asked me to give them kind of like a summary and report, and I can just tell it right here. Things are back to normal. You need to show up there. You need to represent your product at East.
Yeah, we're back to pre-COVID levels, and honestly, we're way ahead of those. So it's rebounded in a huge way. The other thing I noticed is that we saw a lot of vans there, a lot more vans than in past, which is great. I love to see different modes of transport. And I even saw, because I got an opportunity this time to walk around in the camping areas, and I saw a number of schoolies out there as well. So there's some variety in the vehicle that you're choosing, or that people are choosing to get out and see, the wild and overland in. So that is also good to see, the diversity.
I agree. Just a personal story, something that made me enjoy it even on another level, is that I met two couples actually the year before, and this was their first time ever anything, camping, going to an event, everything. This was all new to them. I approached them. They were actually on the podcast last year, and I interviewed them. Fast forward to now, this year, they're at the event. They're talking to people. They've brought people to this event, and we're probably going to see those people at another event, and they're already talking about traveling. So I love the passive forward aspect, and that's not unique to me. I shared my experience. I'm sure there are a lot of people can tell similar stories of meeting somebody, passing forward whatever information they have, giving some inspiration to them, and then that person grabbing that baton and moving forward and giving it to somebody else. And I saw a lot of that.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned that. We're sitting at another event we're going to talk about in a minute, but a lot of these smaller events are great feeder events for the Overland Expo, because that's kind of the king of the events from a size perspective. So it's good seeing some people that may have started out at smaller events like the one that we're sitting at here and moved to Overland Expo, or vice versa. There's some of that too. They go because it's it's very well advertised and people find out about Overland Expo, and then they find out about some of these smaller events that are you can come to and enjoy on a much quieter and more laid back level than big Expo.
Well, somebody, in my opinion, that has an introduction into this from a smaller venue, a smaller event, I think it is a natural and logical progression to go to an Overland Expo.
Right.
Because and I'm not speaking specifically about this event, but just in general, smaller events, yeah, they give classes, but let's be real, it's very limited, the scope, just because of the size of them. They may have a handful of classes, but they can't go beyond that. So I think it's a logical, natural progression to extend your education. So you should be going and moving further to like an expo.
Yep, I agree.
I don't think that, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that as far as the educational aspect, they have a competitor.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, a lot of different competitors out there running events have tried to do that element, but really it's going to be hard to compete with a group that has sort of cultivated the instructors and the education from many years back, and many of them are super experienced, obviously, but they've been around the program so long that they're kind of committed to that program. And I'll just speak for myself. I've been asked to go to a number of other events, but obviously there's only so many things that you can do in a course of a year, and so I've kind of chosen to stick with the big one. And occasionally, when I get to attend an event like we're at right now, it's sort of, I don't really want to go and be an instructor or anything, just simply because this is sort of more of a downtime, relaxation for me, and get out to meet some, new people and see some stuff. But
so, if somebody said, "What's one unique thing that was different about Expo this year to you?" what would it be? It doesn't necessarily have to be in education. It doesn't have to be about food trucks or bathrooms or buses. Is there anything that stuck out to you that contrasted to what you normally see?
Well, one big thing that I noticed obviously I'm around the instructor side of it, and the education side, was that they had these bivvies that were set up at all the events this year, where it was sort of a little bit more casual than even a round table discussion. So it was kind of like, and they put broad topics. A lot of them were travel based, or safety, or solo travel, or all sorts of different topics. But it was kind of more like, rather than having an instructor, it was like a bunch of people getting to sort of throw feedback back and forth on an informal basis, and I think that was a really cool addition that Expo made.
So we're sort of on the same page if I answer that question. I saw more there's some cliquishness in an event. It has to happen. I saw more interaction amongst social media stars with just a regular Joe Blow. I saw more people in the campsites crossing over, talking to people. I saw more interaction amongst people, and it didn't matter their title or their rep or anything. So that's the thing that stuck out to me.
Yeah, maybe it's the informalness is maybe what we're talking about, kind of, and just in general, because you did see crossover between some of the say the vendors and the DIY, showcase vehicle section, which, by the way, at East this year was the best it's ever been. Broadly laid out with lots of different really cool rigs and admittedly, some really crazy ones too.
Yes.
But, and some motorcycles and whatnot. So that was good. And that, I think, stimulates some of the crossover stuff, because there's a lot of people that come through that are going shopping, right? You're going through and looking at products to buy, and then they stumble upon, as they head towards the classrooms, they stumble upon this whole section that's largely of people that did not buy the products, they built them instead, right? So sort of like, me building my truck here. And you get all sorts of different people on different levels that have built out their setups, whether it's trailers or trucks or even different setups on motorcycles and whatnot. And so people get to see the diversity of that and go, oh, I could buy this pre-made trailer, or I can make my own. There are options. And then you can step into the classroom and learn about that. And in some of the informal stuff, you can talk about the pluses and minuses of those kinds of things. So in general, I see a much more relaxed. It's like we were joking, I think, the other day, like a social media icon, say like a Brad from Trail Recon. He chose at this event, he was kind of walking around, intermingling with different stuff, rather than that formal booth kind of setup, you know what I mean? So that I like to see that.
Yes. Matter of fact, since you mentioned Brad, he was actually with, I think, Ozark Adventures.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is a maybe celebrities in this thing, and they were walking. They really actually took the time to walk the whole thing, and they were spending their time with people. And I saw a lot of people like that doing that.
Yeah. I could tell even from our party that we always host, which we kind of did it a little bit different this year.
Yes.
Over sort of, we usually do it on Saturday night. We did it over kind of every night actually, but really focused on Saturday and Sunday. And Sunday, by the way, turned out to be fantastic. I never would have realized that Sunday was a day to bring people together. But man, did we get a good turnout of a lot of different people that chose to stay overnight on Sunday. So going forward, you'll have to look for that in the future when we might move our party to Sunday night.
In the past, the people who stayed on Sunday, a majority of them, it felt more like it was more like a logistical reason for them staying.
Yeah.
Whereas people were looking forward to things being over, being able to relax and socialize with each other. I saw more of that on Sunday.
Me too. Yeah.
I had a ball every night. Like you were mentioning the party, it was a little more intimate, which was actually a relief from the big parties we've been throwing.
That's right.
And I loved we kind of had like small parties each night that added up to maybe one of the big ones that we've thrown in the past.
I will say, you guys probably out there know that have been to any of ours, know that we're kind of getting famous now for doing sliders. After 3 days of eating sliders, I was getting a little tired of that.
Yeah, we kind of overdid the sliders. Neither one of us are good at math, so our calculations on buns and meat.
We still got buns on board. Somehow we go to the grocery store, and three grown adults here are on our calculators trying to figure out, okay, so if we get 15 pounds of hamburger meat, and then we divide that up by 1 ounce each, and then we go with we got to get cheese, but you get cheese regular size slices, but then you got to chop them in 4. Right. And then we got to make buns to match. And we did this math calculation, and then somehow we end up with 40 extra buns.
And we get it wrong every time.
Every single time we get this wrong. So clearly math is not our thing.
But one good thing, with our bad math, we always seem to be able to have enough to feed everybody.
That's right. That's the good news. Is we overdo it.
So
we
you
don't
won't
underdo
go hungry if you show up.
That's right.
We might ask you to take something with you.
Yep. Or have sliders for breakfast the next day.
Right.
Yeah.
I noticed a lot more people cooking. I noticed a lot more people with cooking setups in camp.
Yeah.
A lot of times I notice people are expecting food trucks, which we had.
Yep.
And they're going to rely on that for the day or a couple of days they visit. But that's something that stood out to me too. I saw a lot more stoves and scottles and different contraptions and kitchens setups and people were using them instead of just showing them to people.
Yep. Yeah, that's good to see. I mean, I guess that's maybe an added feature to go into some of these things is to actually get out, which, by the way, is a great place to get out and use equipment when you're not really on some backwoods country trail.
Right, no pressure.
Off grid, no pressure. You're in a parking lot. You know, your stove fails or something goes wrong. Because I'm always a huge proponent about testing all of your gear before you get out there, and that's a good place to test, because if you do fail, you know, you walk over to the food truck, right? There's a backup, there's a plan B involved with that.
So, is there anything else you would like to mention about Overland Expo?
No, I think that kind of sums it up. You know, looking forward to, I'm going to have the opportunity, I think, to probably do most of the Western Expos next year as I come out and prepare to continue on down the Pan American after that. So I've got maybe one more season of really hitting them and looking forward to it, because I'm feeling very positive after the last couple of events.
I have a renewed excitement.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. And it looks like a positive future.
Right, I agree.
So when it ended, like you said, we stayed an additional night, did a lot of socializing, we ate well. And then we took some people along with us.
We did. But wait. One thing that we missed that I don't want to forget about, prior to Expo, Phil and I decided to go to Philadelphia. Because it's on my brain here now, because we're talking about food, right? And we love to talk about food.
Right.
So what do we do in Philadelphia, Phil?
Well, I decided we should do a Philly cheese challenge. Nothing unique about it. It's been done a million times. If you watch the Food Channel or maybe somebody's social media, there's been a million people. We went to Pat's and we went to GENO'S.
Yep.
And we did our own taste test to settle the battle between Pat and GENO'S cheesesteak. And you chose.
I chose GENO'S.
And I chose GENO'S. So that's our choice if you didn't watch the post that we did. And it was out of the way.
Yeah.
But that's what this thing is all about, right?
I mean, when we say out of the way, we basically drove from Connecticut down to Philadelphia, kind of took the back way, which is what we do, and came into the city. And then, you know, for those of you that don't think I can navigate through tight areas, I can with the big truck, with the exception of maybe clipping a few things.
I'm a witness.
And hit my bicycle, which was mounted somewhat poorly on the rear of the truck. Luckily, didn't sustain too much damage in that incident. But the weather was just atrocious. I mean, we've had just some horrible weather coming down the East Coast.
It felt like we had a magnet, and we were attracting bad weather.
Yeah. Yep. So anyways, so to back up, that's what we did prior to Overland Expo, and then we did some camping in James River State Park in Virginia before Expo, and we've met up with a kind of a group, and that leads into what you were getting to post Expo.
Right. So when we were leaving Expo, we took a little crew with us to where we are now. I'm still going to hold off on mentioning where we are because I want to give them their moment. But the couple that I mentioned earlier, who I had met a year ago, now they're practically OGs. They're rolling with us, and they actually got some people to come to this. So we had Max Life Overlanding with us.
Yep. And
then a friend of yours who owns a company called Way Out.
Way Out Box, Vincent,
right,
and Alex from Montreal, who, by the way, I met Vincent years back through Overland Expos, and so they've been tagging along with us, and we've had Candy, Chicks Do It Too, from Las Vegas. She actually stopped by and visited Phil and I after she evacuated from the hurricane up in Labrador, so she's traveled on and off with us down the East Coast. So I guess the long and short of I think what we're both talking about is, you guys know both of us, we don't really travel in groups normally.
That is correct. This is highly unusual.
Let's talk about the challenges to that.
Yes. I don't like to compromise, but if you're going to be part of a convoy going somewhere, I believe that's the very first thing that you need to deal with. That, okay, it's not all about me, it's about the group and whatever's best for the group. So I kind of went with that mentality. And our first day was kind of rough. We were getting to know each other. This was a new group together.
Yeah, and of course, anytime you put 7 trucks together, I use the joke, that like we got missing alpacas, because you're just like, you're out of the truck. Inevitably, somebody has to use the bathroom. One guy's looking for food. Somebody's running low on fuel. Somebody's radio's not working right, so it's just like,
Which all happened.
Somebody's got to walk the dog. So I'm just like, okay, does everybody got their alpaca, loaded up on board? Are we ready? Are we got any wandering animals ready to go? So what I found was, because largely, I don't know how it defaulted to us, but largely it somehow ended up being Phil and I's, we're like the navigational.
You ran lead, I did tail gunner.
That's right. So, suddenly it came on us, and of course what happens in a group like that is everybody always looks to somebody else to come up with what we're doing. So all of a sudden we were in charge of this, and him and I, Phil and I, were talking about like, okay, so tomorrow we're going to drive to so and so, how long is it going to take, and it's like, then the debate starts. It's like, okay, well, it's 150 miles. That should take, let's see, that's about 3 hours, but then we better add some time for this. And then really it's 9,
Right. They were calculating in highway time, and we were calculating in overlanding with rigs time.
Right. And stops.
Yes.
Constant stops and, whatever else. So not usually my thing. However, post-Expo, I'm always in the decompression mode. So, I don't know about you, but I just sit in my truck, put on a little Sirius XM and chill out and just zone until the radio goes off, and I gotta,
Well, I learned a new strategy for when I am in a convoy, because, like you said, we were forced into basically taking the lead, and I hate to use the word forced because we just happen to do it. Yeah. But I've tried to avoid that, even when it's my thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to always be the tail gunner.
Yeah.
Because I was able to relax. I had to keep up with things, but I was really relaxed back there. I think that's the prime spot in a convoy.
And it actually was relaxing for me in the front, because I'm just going to go my speed. It's all I can do, right? So I'm just going along, and I didn't have to worry about relying on anybody, because, quite frankly, if I had to do something, I would stop and do it, and everybody had to follow. So the pressure was kind of off of me as well. And with being the big truck, I knew that Phil, 7 cars back, could see me. Right. So it kind of worked out good that way. And so it was definitely challenging. We did some. Let's talk about what we did. We basically followed the Blue Ridge Parkway the whole way.
Right. And just briefly, one of the challenges could be communication.
Yeah, which could be a whole nother podcast talking about that for sure.
And I sent you recently a Midland radio.
Yep.
That you installed in your vehicle. We handed out some Midlands to some people. How do you think that worked for us as far as...
Mine worked fantastic. I could hear and receive everything. You being in the back, largely it was Phil and I communicating back and forth because we were at both ends of the convoy.
Right.
What I would tell you is there's a lot of people out there that don't have radios. And if you're ever going to even hope to have any kind of convoy, you really need them. It's essential equipment.
Yes.
For one, that's number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, I'm going to just tell you, as a newbie, not a newbie, I mean, I've had radios in multiple trucks for my whole life, really. I am the guy that doesn't know how to use this stuff. I'm not great at the radio thing, so the only thing I would tell you is we had to switch channels a few times because of, just interference and stuff, people being on our channel. So I would like to, and I'm going to make a priority for me to learn how to use the radio properly, so I can get off of the straight up channels and get into the, I don't even know what you call. I kept calling them sidebands, but that's not what they are.
Sub-channels.
Yep. or whatever they
Privacy
are.
channels.
Privacy channels, yeah. So,
yes. I'm still I can't do them quickly. Like if you had said, let's go to 1706,
Right.
that would have threw me for a loop.
Right.
So I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
But as far as the effectiveness, I think it was very effective. It was great to have crystal clear voices.
Yeah.
Sometimes I had to ask somebody to repeat, but that's only because I'm in a loud Jeep and I had the radio blaring.
Right. Me too. Yeah.
I really think CBs are pretty much obsolete at this point.
Yeah, they're not. I've run trucks with CBs, and if you're doing any kind of highway pounding, they can come in as beneficial occasionally by just monitoring like channel 19 for truckers or whatnot. Mm-hmm. But other than that, yeah, I wouldn't. I would go with a GMRS really, because it's sort of like we're not going to go around with corded phones in our house anymore. So we've moved on from that.
So we're in Henderson, North Carolina, and we chose the Blue Ridge Parkway as our route, which is a very slow route just because of what the speed limit is. And then we're driving even slower than the speed limit. And we happen to actually have happened upon other people who are even driving slower than us.
Yep.
So it was a long journey, but it allowed us to slow down and really see and enjoy the Blue Ridge Parkway. And we were fortunate enough where the colors are starting to turn, so we got a beautiful, beautiful ride.
Yeah, because most of the way in Virginia, the speed limit is 45, which you're not going to actually hit that often. And then in North Carolina, a lot of it's at 35. So it's pretty slow, and a lot of leaf peepers out. I had to joke at one point because I'm usually considered to be the slow guy in the group, and at one point I think we had two Sprinter vans in front of us that were going even I was getting great fuel mileage because we were going so slow. but it was nice is we did get to see some awesome scenery, and it took us 3 days to go 350 miles essentially. Right.
But it was worth it to me.
It was.
From the simple aspect, my principal goal in traveling is I want to see as much eye candy throughout the trip as possible. So I was getting my eye candy, and I was totally satisfied with the group that I was with.
Yep.
We had some great evenings. We spent 2 nights on the Blue Ridge.
Yep.
We ate well, we drank well, we socialized. So that was a great aspect of the trip too.
Yeah. And sometimes it's the speed at which because you know what? Let's talk about this for a minute. I get questions on my truck constantly as to what's the top speed? How fast do you go? And I don't want to say like it's almost annoying in a sense that like that shouldn't be what you're asking, because it's not about speed. This is not the Indy 500. And that's I think what I enjoyed most about this Blue Ridge Parkway trip that we did as a caravan convoy was that nobody was trying to set any land speed record.
So one of the advantages to me with rolling with Mike is he's got what you would consider the slower vehicle between the two of us. Yep. So I usually let you go lead so that you can set the pace. But the advantage to me is because you've got the big truck, people don't really get mad at you. They have an understanding.
Right.
So I get to drive the speed that I want to drive without getting a flack because I'm following you.
That's right. Yeah. Having Jeeps before, you get if you go that slow, people are getting mad at you.
Right. So when cars go by us and you know how they want to kind of look in the window, I can just go.
That's right. Look at that. I got this big orange thing in front of me. I can't go any faster. What can I do?
So,
and I don't really get that because they just look at it and go, oh, well, that's not going to go very fast anyways.
So anybody that's listening, everybody I'm pretty sure is listening to this, has some kind of desire, whether they're doing it or not, to travel. If you're on this coast, if you've got the time, I always recommend avoid the highway and take the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Absolutely. And just go out and see stuff. If you've got to plan a trip out, plan an extra day. And, don't take I-95 or the interstates because, I don't want to sound like a broken record, and I constantly say it. All you see is love truck stops and McDonald's, and you can see that anywhere in the world.
Yes.
But you can't see the scenery off of the Blue Ridge Parkway, or you can't see the back Class 4 roads in Vermont. And, there's lots of stuff to see, but you gotta but it takes longer. I mean, that's the bottom line. It simply just takes longer. So if you're in a rush, you gotta opt out. So at that point, what's the point of even traveling?
Well, if you gave me the choice in stopping at a McDonald's or a Love's to have a sandwich versus me making a sandwich on something like the Blue Ridge Parkway at an overlook, I'll take that sandwich on an overlook 10 times out of 10.
Yep.
I want to check it out later. Okay.
So we did the Blue Ridge Parkway, and we've already revealed where we are. We're in Henderson, North Carolina.
Hendersonville, North Carolina. For those of you out there that have been around, realize that in 2018, Overland Expo East was hosted here at this very location that we're sitting. It used to be called Rebranch. And that was the site of the world famous
Mud Bowl.
The Mud Bowl. So where we're sitting right now, our chairs should be underground.
Yes. Ironically, I can see where your vehicle was parked, and I can see where my vehicle was parked that time. Yep. The creek is right there for people who were here and can remember the geography. The creek is right here, so that's where we are.
Yeah. But wow, do we have a world of difference in the weather.
Whoa. Hopefully I remember to do a little B-roll and edit it in, and maybe they're looking at what we're looking at right now. Sorry if I didn't get the time to do that when I post this. But the colors are changing. Yeah. Beautiful trees, beautiful people, beautiful rigs, delicious food. And are we ready to tell them where we are?
Absolutely. Okay. So we are at an event called The Gathering, and this is my first gathering, but it is the third one that they've hosted. Second one in the east. They had one in the west. And Phil, you've been to one before. What's it all about?
So I went to the inaugural one. It's given by a couple called Staples and Tents. Some of their other monikers are Black People Off-Road, and their event goes under the moniker of the Gathering if you want to look them up on social media. So this is kind of a unique event. If you're coming to this event thinking this is 100 vendors over there and there's classes and just camping, just the normal, this is a little different. This is far more focused toward the social aspect, the human spirit, and it's more of a focus of people of color, Black folks. So you'll see more of them here than you're going to see at other events, and there's a lot more focus on our tastes, our likes, our wants, our insecurities, our neglect.
And it's trying to get that segment of the population out into camping.
This is all about inspiration.
Yep.
Yes.
So
encouragement.
And the other thing I would mention is many of these people are very new, newbies, right?
Yes.
So not to sound critical of like,
I know what you're going to say.
Experienced people or anything, but man, do I like to hang out with like people that are new, that are eyes wide open, excited to be to learn stuff instead of the hanging around with a bunch of people that are know-it-alls.
So it's important to me that you on camera talk to me about this event the way you've talked to me off camera. Your feeling and your experience meeting just brand new people, the people that you've met here, and their mindset and what you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean it's been great. I've given a number of tours on my truck. People come and have asked like, they're like I said, their eyes are open wide, and they're like, wow, I've never seen a truck like this, or I never met anybody that's done all of these things. I talked to a guy yesterday that said he had come from Eritrea, and it's like, and I was giving him a tour of my truck, and I said, oh, I've actually been there, and it was like, he was clearly shocked. So it's been such a great group of people. Just hanging out last night at the bonfire, talking to just a number of people over there. It's been awesome. It's been really good event. From that, So when I say event, I'm gonna call it grassroots, because it's not organized, meaning that we're just a bunch of people sitting in a field right now. I'm parked here with, Phil's next to me, and everybody else is out behind the camera here, and it's just a good group. It's not formalized, so you don't have there's not a lot of structure going on.
Right, and everyone is actually happy about that. There's no pressure.
Yeah.
There's a laziness in this, but in a positive way.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone is talking to everybody. Everyone is ingratiating themselves with everybody. I think you feel welcome. I won't speak for you.
Absolutely. No, I mean, nothing but welcome, really. It's been awesome. I was having this conversation with Vincent and Alex, who are from Montreal, so they're even from another country here, and they are just... we'll let them talk for themselves. We're going to be talking to them in another podcast.
That's right. So look forward to another podcast that we'll be doing with them. Like you said, I think you'll be very interested in it. I kind of have an idea of some of the direction and some of the things he'll be saying, and I think the audience will really enjoy hearing his perspectives on American culture from an outsider.
That's right. Yep.
And he was very insightful when we were talking with him.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to be very excited to do the interview. Yeah. I hope you guys tune into it.
Yeah. So we're halfway through the weekend here, and like I said, it's been nothing but positive. I'm looking forward tonight. We got a band and some good food truck over there,
and we had a DJ last night.
We had a DJ last night set around, and I don't know what it is about us, but somehow we managed to close down the bonfire every night. Why is that?
So we were at the bonfire. Everybody went to their camp for the night and went to bed, and we stayed maybe a couple of more hours after that, still putting wood in the fire, still chit-chatting, but that's what we do.
That's what we do. So, good times. Got a couple vendors here. We got Geyser Systems with the showers here that people would be familiar with if they've also went to Overland Expo. There's a mountain bike rental thing over there. There's been a couple classes, but like I said, super chill.
So these microphones are pretty good. So they may not hear it, but I'm hoping you heard the audience or the people clapping over in the distance. There's a lot of events going on throughout the day here, a lot of activity, a lot of interaction. So I just wanted to give up-to-date info.
And you guys will probably be seeing a podcast that Phil and I are going to do in front of a live audience. I'm going to be talking to the organizers of this event and getting their insight on sort of what we're trying to accomplish here. At the gathering.
Right. So, in your eyes, what are they trying to accomplish?
I think we mentioned. I think they're trying to get people of color more involved in the Overland community, and oftentimes some of them are more urban based, and trying to get them out into nature. Really, I think, and integrate into this broader community that's morphed all together. From, like I've talked a million times about, like the Overlanding, the 4x4 group, the van lifers, the schoolie guys, just nomads in general, and trying to get a greater diversity of people and bring everybody together to socialize and just like let your guard down. Because I mean, as somebody that's traveled, I was telling somebody at the fire last night, because I think somebody asked me, well, kind of was like, well, how does it feel as a white guy? And I said, well, I traveled through Africa for a year, and oftentimes, I was the only guy, anywhere near, and to be honest with you, it didn't bother me at all. And in fact, I love that. I love the mixing of culture and backgrounds and stuff. So,
And they loved having you here.
Yeah, it's been great.
And wait a minute, let's not make it like you're the only white guy here.
No, we got 2 Canadians over here.
and there's a lot more.
Yeah, no,
here.
Absolutely. But it's kind of funny.
Right.
But yeah, and that's the point. It's a good mixing of different people with different backgrounds. But man, have we been having a great time.
Yes. And I want to very briefly get into last night so maybe they can get an idea of the flow of this thing. So we're sitting around the campfire. A few of us were off to the side, and one of the Staples and Tents, Nakota, the husband in this couple, he took us on a trail to a waterfall, and we all agreed that we would not use light. So we followed a path through a beautiful forest to a beautiful waterfall, and our eyes got more acclimated to the light, so we were literally able to see this beautiful waterfall at night. And in the midst of the time that we were up there, the moon eclipsed, and it shined right on it, and it was almost like a spiritual moment. And kudos to Nakota, who hosted the trail. We stopped periodically. We shared anecdotal, inspirational thoughts. He posed questions to us. We discussed historically different cultures living in forests and walking at night. So it was educational. It was inspirational. If you're a spiritual person, you may have had some kind of spiritual moment or whatever. That's the kind of vibe of the events, and that's the kind of direction they're trying to go with this.
And that's a good word you're using, vibe, because I think that's what is really making this weekend for me. It's just that the vibe is good.
It's about 90% vibe.
Yeah, and it's hard to put your finger exactly on what that means, but
I could see
down to it, in the future, if you're interested in feeling what we're talking about.
Yeah, I could see someone saying, "So tell me about the gathering," and the most important, enjoyable part is the part you really can't explain.
Right.
You can run off the events, but the feeling and the vibe is you're gonna have to come. That's just the bottom line. So, did we mention about the live podcast? I can't remember.
I did. I mentioned it. We're going to be doing a live well, it's not live, but it's in front of an audience.
In front of a live audience.
Live to you guys out there, but we're going to be filming very shortly, actually, a podcast with Nakota and Sonia, the organizers of the event, and talking about sort of what's behind this and what they are up to. They've made some big life things, big decisions in the last year, and we'll be talking to them, so stay tuned for that.
And the reason I'm mentioning it, I usually don't skip to what's next on the next podcast, but I think they're interconnected. If you're interested in what we're telling you about the event, you'll learn more about the couple and their mindset and the journey to get to this point. And we kind of know a little bit about that journey, and it's a very interesting story. And I do the production side of this thing. So I asked them, did they want a framework for questions? Were there some certain questions they wanted me to ask or not ask, or did they want to see a list of questions? And they kind of scoffed at me and laughed, like, no, ask whatever. We're gonna be an open book. We're gonna talk. So they might backtrack on that, because I'm gonna dig in to the backstory of this event and them.
So stay tuned. We got a lot of great stuff coming up.
We do. And the reason why this podcast hasn't done certain things, it's our fault. We've pretty much had everybody you want to have on this podcast agree to be on it. And we've decided to focus on more getting that done. So moving forward, you're going to see a lot of guests on this show who have agreed to be on here.
Yep.
Eva Ruber embarrassed me because I had talked to her over a year ago and I didn't follow up. She's eager to be on the show. I can't wait to talk to her. I've talked to Scott Brady. Those are just a couple of names. I'm just trying to give people an idea. We got some important people in the industry that are really out there doing it, that are very knowledgeable, who have the type of personality that you'll enjoy listening to them tell their stories. We got a lot of things ahead. So please stay tuned. That's kind of like my little catchphrase, stay tuned for more, but that is highly accurate. You need to stay tuned for more. I'm looking forward to the future.
Me as well. It's going to be good.
So, is there anything you want to add to that?
I think we're good for today.
All right. Well, you guys know what I'm going to say. Stay safe. Tread lightly. And hopefully I'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.